Hi, I'm Pastor Elaine, and my mom was a teenage mom, and she put me up for adoption at birth. And I was adopted by some people who had adopted a son and later adopted another, and so there were three of us. I had two brothers, and none of us were related. And we were raised in a fairly nice family. My mom was a nurse, and my dad was a draftsman for a rocket propulsion company. And we had a nice house, and we went to private schools, and we had the only built-in pool in the neighborhood. We went we had swim lessons actually in our pool in our backyard. So we had a church every time the doors were open. Every time the doors were open. And so I learned about God at a very young age and knew the hymns inside out and backwards and could say the books of the Bible and a very, very strong scriptural knowledge. But sadly, I was sexually abused by my dad from as young as I can remember. I know it was before kindergarten because I started acting out in kindergarten until I left home. And my dad eventually, and during that era, so that was, I was born in the 60s, and so 60s, 70s, and the early 80s, there was no real knowledge that you could even talk about it, let alone who would you talk to about it. And my dad ended up going to jail for molesting somebody else, and during that time, I was actually still going to church with him, and that's how dysfunctional I became. And I was dealing drugs at school and sleeping around, and it just got really bad for a long time. And so when my dad went to jail, I went to my pastor and I said, I think I need some counseling. And he says, well, write down what you want to work on. And I said, so I made a little list, and I went back the next week and I said, well, I want to have a better relationship with my mom and my brothers and my dad and some other stuff I can't remember what was on the list. And he says, well, where do you want to start? And I said, my relationship with God. And I had never even thought about it. I didn't intend to talk to him about my relationship with God, didn't even think I needed to talk to him about my relationship with God. And he says, well, where is your relationship with God? And I said, I don't know. He said, well, have you ever asked Jesus in your heart? And I said, well, when I was 5, during VBS, my brother made me go to the altar, and I cried, and the guy that came to pray with me got mad because I wouldn't stop crying. And the pastor says, is that it? And I'm like, yeah, that was it. And he says, well, we can rectify that right now. And I said, okay. We went down into the sanctuary and walked down to the altar and prayed a simple sinner's prayer. And the following Sunday, for the first time in my life, those hymns that I had known, so now I'm at the age of 23, those hymns that I had known all my life finally made sense to me. And I remember looking at it and saying, wow, these songs are actually about me. I was stunned by that. And so through that experience, I actually thought, if I can go back into the church and teach people, let's talk to each other about our spiritual selves, our spiritual experience regularly. I shouldn't have to be in a church for 23 years and go through drama before somebody actually asks me about my relationship with God. And so I'm hoping that that little blip of my life being raised by somebody who really shouldn't be raising children can show you that God is a redeeming God, and I am no longer who I used to be, and I just praise him for that, and that I can have a redeemed life and walk in ways that can help others be encouraged. So God bless you.